Hi, this is Faith, and you are watching The Faith Factor. Holla. All right, everybody. Hello. This is Faith, and you are watching The Faith Factor. How's everybody doing this morning? I forgot to get my audio together, guys. Forgive me. I'm always fumbling around with something, ain't I? But yes, welcome to the show. And today we're going to be talking about a better class of women. And the reason why the series is so important is because we as Black women, we need to work on ourselves from the inside out. We're always talking about things that we can do to improve the outside. And thank you for all the beauty tips to all the gurus out there. But there is something that's going on with the Black female mindset that also needs a overhaul. And so that is why I am here with a better class of woman, because there is a better, and you can all do better and be better as women. We do not have to walk around here being proud side chicks. We don't have to walk around here talking about we're man sharing anymore, or fighting over men, or stabbing the other sister in the back for whatever reason, being jealous of one another. We don't have to continue to go around doing this. So in me creating a better class of women, I'm talking about women being better, not for a man, because we have plenty of level up movements. I'm talking about Black women being better for Black women. So in this series, we're going to be talking about a lot of things having to do with self-improvement from the inside out. And so today I wanted to talk about the apex of the parasitic mindset. Why young girls went for older men and the bad boys. And like I said, I take it all the way back. I go back to when I was growing up and a little bit further. Now, last week, we did a lot of talking. Well, no, it was a couple of days ago. I'm sorry. We did a lot of talking about the hood and where Black men dropped the ball. We always talk about where Black men dropped the ball, and we know where they dropped the ball. So when I talk about the hood and how things were set up and how Black men made it into a place that was a, how can I say, a war zone, they turned the hood into a war zone. So we talked about that last week. We talked about how Black men dropped the ball as far as not creating a safe environment, as far as not being able to provide as well they should for Black women. We talked about where they dropped the ball. Now let's talk about today where we as Black women dropped the ball. Because see, there's always another side. And remember, I said last week, Black women, we were being held accountable for our part as far as the out of wedlock birth rate and all of that. We've always been held accountable for that. But here's some things that we as Black women do need to take into consideration as far as our accountability. And that is in how we have raised the children. And that is in how we have allowed ourselves to be portrayed. We have to take accountability for some of that. Because I know that we like to say that Black men did a lot of the over sexualizing, and that's true. They marketed us in their rap music and in their music videos as being overly sexualized. They did that. But let's not forget that we were all too happy to be in the video. Some of us were all too happy to do the things that we thought needed to be done in order to get that validation. So we have to take some honest there too, some accountability. Because see, if it wasn't for us being in the videos, they wouldn't have us and our image in those videos. And see, I know that accountability for some Black women, we are allergic. We're allergic to it. If someone starts talking about Black female accountability, all of a sudden you're going to get a stampede of Black women, beginning with the older Black women of my generation, leading the stampede and misleading the younger generation of women. You'll have the older generation of Black women talking about, oh, we've always had to, be held accountable. Men were always trying to control us, and it's a control thing, and we don't want to be controlled anymore. So in the spirit of not wanting to be controlled anymore, let's not leave the house looking presentable. These are older Black women in my generation passing this bullshit down. In the spirit of not being controlled anymore, let's act unladylike and twerk everywhere we go. Because I miss the days of when I was at Freaknik, and I wish I could have been more freer and I would have done more. This is women of the older generation that I'm in passing this bullshit down. And as long as I have breath in my body, I'm going to hold you bitches accountable. Because you get on here and you spew this rhetoric to the younger generation, and you don't think. You never think about what you're saying and how it affects the next generation. You don't want to take accountability for your not wanting to be controlled. You never take into consideration that Black women can not be controlled and at the same time conduct ourselves as ladies. Running out looking like Lizzo and some of these other pop singers, and these are, by the way, stars. These are celebrities. But we're going to compare ourselves to them anyway, right? So I'm going to use the example. We sit up here and we idolize these women, and we look at how free they are. And we say that's freedom. To be able to walk out of the house showing all our ass with no decorum about ourselves, that's freedom. Because people have been trying to control the Black women for so long. And now one side of our mouth, while I'm sitting up here, I talked about how double-minded Black men are. I talked about that last week, but Black women, you are double-minded too. Out one side of your mouth, you'll complain about being over-sexualized. And then out the other side, you will justify being able to walk out of the house half naked because you don't want to be controlled and you want to do whatever the hell you want to do. And this is the older generation. This is the older generation of women running around here justifying and rationalizing the behavior in the name of, I don't want to be controlled. Having self-respect does not mean that you're being controlled. Demetrius Hagashikata says, I think some actual misogynists have infiltrated the BWE message. I think so too. But to be honest with you, it's not really that. I agree that a lot of people have had their hands on Black women. I agree that a lot of people have been trying to control us, but do not rebel in a manner that is not befitting your image in the name of not trying to be controlled. And that's what I see where a lot of Black women and girls are headed, with older Black women leading the charge. And so, like I said, I'm 46. I lived some life. I lived a whole lot of life, guys. I really have. I've seen a whole lot. I've experienced the evolution of a lot of things that have affected our community negatively for both the men and the women. So I want to get into the nitty gritty of the apex of the parasitic mindset of a lot of these women. I want to get into the nitty gritty as to why a lot of young Black girls chose to date older. What's up, Sheila E? Oh my goodness. Sheila E is in the house, guys. Check out Sheila E's channel, Sheila E, The Quiet Storm. And thank you so much for sharing, Sheila. Demetrius Hagashikata says, I agree. I took the time to learn the history, but it seems in their rebellion, they seem to have foregone sense, because a lot of what the manosphere and even regular folks say is just common sense. Well, see, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I will say this. When someone is right, I will say that they're right. And a broken clock can be right once a day. The manosphere is broken. It's full of broken men. So I don't put a lot of onus on what they say, but when they're right, I am not afraid to say they got a point. But we got to break this down, y'all. So now, last week, we went way back in history, and you heard it here first, where I told you that Black men are not angry about what happened in 1950, in 1960. They're not angry about that, because they walk around here talking about Black women chose welfare check over them back in the 50s and 60s. And that's a lie. We talked about that last week, how during that time, when we finally started getting the same public benefits as white women, we talked about how Black men were right there in the home eating food from the nutrition program, right along with the woman and children. He was over there in the public housing with the women and children benefiting. Okay, so it can't be that he was mad about what was going on around 65 all the way through to the mid 80s or the late 80s. From 1965 to the late 80s, Black men were silent about welfare. It wasn't until Clinton put the stamp down in 1990, and he said, no more will you women be able to get any nutrition assistance until you give us these Negroes names. And so they started making Black men accountable for the first time in the 90s with child support. And then that is when you started seeing Black men begin to care. So once again, you heard it here at the Faith Factor. If anybody else tries to copy what I say here, make sure you tell them that you got this ideology from the Faith Factor, because there's a lot of people that's picking up on my ideologies now, and they're trying to run with it. A couple of niggas, I ain't gonna say their name now, but I'm hot on your tail. If I see you or hear you repeating what I said, I'm going to be hot on your ass because none of you put it together. But black men are not upset about 1950, 1960. They were happy about 1950, 1960 because they did not clamp down on making them responsible for these children until 1990. They really didn't start enforcing the child support laws until then. And right around 1990, that's when you start hearing them rumbling and complaining because they were catching up to them as technology improved. So don't let the smooth taste fool you. If you're wondering why they were so quiet from 1965 all the way to 1990, it was because they were benefiting. And then when 1990 came and technology improved and they were clamping down harder on people leaving their families and leaving their children and kicking their ass with the child support. Black men are angry about 1990, not 1965. And in 1990, black women had two choices. You either fed your family or you protect that nigga. We talked about this last week, so we just doing a recap. And if anybody else says that the same thing that I'm saying, call them out for stealing talking points and not giving homage to where you heard it first, because nobody else was banging on this but me. And if I'm going to take the fall, for my talking points, then goddamn it, you bitches and niggas better give me credit. Because you all will sit up here and drag Faith through the goddamn mud and call me stupid. And then later on, you will take my talking points, remix it, and then not give homage to where you got it from after you dragged me. So I'm just here to tell you that I know the game. But no, they're not angry about 1965. They're angry about 1990. That is exactly when they were being held accountable. Until then, you never heard them complaining about welfare. You didn't hear them complaining about welfare until the enforcement of the child support laws went into full effect. So that's their accountability, okay? For the first time, black men were being held accountable, and child support was being enforced to the fullest in the 90s, and that's when you heard them complaining. But before then, black women were always accountable. We had to be accountable because we weren't getting any help. We were accountable because we had to go and lie to the welfare office and say our men were not in the house. We had to either do that, say that we were abandoned, or we had to produce a death certificate and say that our husband passed away. We only got two choices. So without the proof of the death certificate, we went in those welfare offices and lied our ass off. And black men were not mad about it. As a matter of fact, they were right there participating and cooperating because they benefited. So when the clampdown happened and black men were no longer able to just go to work and keep all of their paycheck and, give to their kids whenever they felt like it, or hold a dang old little carrot over your head. Hey, you want these little shoes? You want these shoes for the baby? Well, what you going to give me for these shoes? They couldn't do it no more. The government took that out of their hands with child support. And so women started getting that check. And black men were mad in the 90s. And that's when you started hearing them talk about we chose welfare over them. When actually what it wasn't that we chose welfare over them, because they were right there before child support enforcement participating with us getting the food stamps. So they weren't mad about 1965. They were mad about the 90s. They were mad that there was another choice that Bill Clinton put on the table. Bill Clinton said, either you give us these Negroes names or we will not feed your children. You got two choices. So once again, Black women were met with two choices in the 90s. You either feed your children or you protect your man. And Black women chose to feed their children. And that is the reason why these Negroes are running around here saying that we chose welfare over them. That's why. And if you hear anybody else try to steal this talking point, call their ass out on it. Because nobody else put two and two together. So now back to Black female accountability. We are accountable because for a long time, we were at the forefront. We were made to be accountable. Our men did not have job opportunities like we had. We had the opportunity to go work as somebody's maid. We could wash clothes. We could, do a lot of different things. We could be nurses, so Black women had some opportunities. It wasn't the best, but we were able to work and supply money for our homes. So that made us the de facto head of households. And there has never been a time where Black women had never, ever been a head of household. You had sprinklings of Black households here and there where the man was the head. But for the most part, it was the women bringing in the money. And the households where the women were head of the household were always poor. Now, I will say the households where the men were the head, those households were usually middle class. And that's the way it was for us. Also, the households that were middle class are when both the Black man and the Black woman had opportunity to work and bring in money. That has always been the way it was for us. But for the most part, the women were the ones driving the household because there weren't a lot of opportunities for Black men. And because we were the ones that were always at the forefront of our households, because our households were never like white American households back in the 60s and 70s. Our households have always been headed by women, even back then. I do not know why Black people keep getting history fucked up. We haven't had too many Black-headed households where the man was at the forefront. It was always the woman bringing in the money. And she who brings in the money, she that pays the bills, it was she that ran the households. And for that, we had de facto accountability for how those households turned out. Yes, we did. Now, you fast forward to when Black men began to try to fight, because there was a power struggle. I'm telling you, Black women were the de facto head of households, and there was a power struggle. And when the crack era hit, Black men for the first time began to feel as if they had some power in the community. And we went over what they did with that power. They fed poison to their people, and they turned their communities into war zones. That's what they did with their power. And because black men resented the power that black women had in the household and in the families as the head, they used their power to subject us. You're going to hear that very first time here. But yes, that's what they did. When they got their first taste of power, they used their power to subject the women because they resented the women. So you had a lot of black mothers during that time that were head of the household, and their sons were going out bringing in all this extra money. And some of these mothers, the ones, even the ones that were Christian, they looked the other way. And they took that money from their sons and they protected their sons in their wrongdoing. And I'm just going to tell the truth and shame the devil about that because I saw this growing up in my neighborhood. See, in the movies, they like to depict the Christian black woman that was hardworking and, she paid her bills, by the sweat of her own brow. And when she found out that her son was out there selling drugs, she fought against him. She kicked him out of the house and all this other stuff. But I'm going to tell you, the first woman to drop the ball was the older black woman that allowed her son to stay in her house, sell those drugs, and she took the money and looked the other way. And there were a lot of households that looked like this. She protected him. She allowed him to use her home. The first trap queen was the black mother. And this gonna hurt a lot of people's feelings. Because some of you know what I'm talking about. Some of you can look to your old aunties and grandmas and you can point back to where she knew her older son was in her house cooking drugs and selling it out the back window. And she took that money and looked the other way. And when the police came in the house raiding, she was right there with him, throwing the drugs down the toilet and flushing it down. And when the police asked her, did she know what happened to him on this night when this person ended up dead, she gave him an alibi. Yes, she did. And we have to be accountable for our part in that. And a lot of people going to be mad at me for telling this truth. So yeah, they sold poison to the people in the community. They turned the community in a war zone. And we, as black women, we enabled them to do that, starting with the black mother who was the head of the household. And then some of the black mothers who were the head of the household partook in using the drugs. that the young men were selling in the community. And they became hooked. You had grown women in their late 20s and 30s, and their boyfriends were 17, 16, 18, and they allowed themselves to be concubine to these young boys because they were hooked on the drugs and they liked the fast money. So the older women in the community were the first to start that trend. You enabled them. And then as your looks began to fade, when you were 28 and 32 and 35, going around sleeping with teenagers for drugs and money, I'm going to just tell the truth and shame the devil here. Your daughters saw what you were doing. And you began to offer your daughters up. That's what some of you did. I'm not saying all, but some of you were doing that too. So we had the Christian mother that knew her son was selling drugs and looked the other way. Then we had the older women in the community getting hooked on the drugs and sleeping with the teenagers, getting pregnant, becoming trap queens. And then by the time I became a teenager and drugs were running rampant in my community, I told you what the evolution of the redlining and the tearing down of the projects did to middle class Black neighborhoods. So then when me and my friends were in junior high, 8th grade, 9th grade, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, that's about when it starts, right? We're walking to school. We're starting to fill out, we're getting our little boobies and, our curves are starting to come in. We still got a little baby fat on us. And so the ballers that were like 17, 18, 19, now they're in their 20s. And they done ran through all the older women and turned them into crackheads. And so now they're their biggest clientele. And girls my age, now they're moving on to us because they no longer want the older women who were cracked out. I remember when I was a young girl and we would be hanging out, on the weekends. My friend Tasha, we were always hanging out at her house because her mother was on meth and crack. And so her mother was never around or never available, and she didn't care. And so Tasha's house became the house that all of us hung out at. We were like 14, 15, 16. And where were we hanging out? Well, young girls that age in the hood, we used to hang out on the porch. Right there on the front porch. And some of you all know what I'm talking about. And why would we hang out on the front porch and not in the backyard? Because you couldn't be seen in the backyard. You hung out on the front porch so you can be seen, because you wanted the other boys in the neighborhood to see you wearing your fresh gear, see you with your hair all did up, see you looking fly, and you wanted to be hollered at. And so if you had parents like mine and they would only let you go up the block to hang out, then you hung out where you could be seen. So we were on Tasha's porch, hanging out. And us little girls, we would talk to each other all the time. I'm telling you this story for a reason, because I'm going to tell you how little girls, and that's what we were. We were little girls. We were 14, 15, 16. I'm going to tell you the mentality of little girls and how they could be susceptible to messing with these older guys, like the R. Kellys of the neighborhood. Yeah, I had me a little boyfriend, Demetrius. But it all started with my first friend, because Tasha, like I said, Tasha was her mother was on drugs, so she didn't have money, and she had a poverty mindset. And then I had a friend named Leah. Mother and father always worked. I believe her father might have also been on drugs. And so you had a lot of girls whose parents were kind of like either busy or just absent because of the drugs running rampant in the community. So that left us to our own devices. And so we had to kind of, teach each other. So we had boys in the neighborhood, that liked us and try to holler at us. And it was so bad because the boys were kind of mannish. When I was growing up, we didn't have boys that were gentlemen in our neighborhood. I remember walking down the street to the store, and if you passed a group of guys, you just knew that they were going to try to grope you. That's how mannish these guys were. And I'm talking about boys our age, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So you walk past a group of guys, you knew to cross over to the other side of the street. Because if you go past them, they're going to grab your butt, or they're going to try to grab you around your waist and hold you to waste your time trying to mack you down. They did that. And there was always the guy that's calling you shorty, shorty, shorty. Like during my day, they was calling the shorties. Come here, shorty, let me holler at you. And we knew that if we went by ourselves with that guy, we were going to be sexually assaulted. Because, and I'm not talking about, grape. I'm talking about he was going to grope you, put his hands in places that you didn't want him to put his hands. And so as little girls, we used to stand around and talk to each other and say, you know what? Yes, that is assault. That's what I said. That's exactly what we went through. So we had managed little boys and we had the predatory men. At no time were the girls ever treated with respect in the hood, because there just wasn't any respect. So I'm just letting you know, I'm giving you the apex of how all this shit goes down. Even the so-called little boys that seemed like they were good, Peer pressure is a motherfucker. I hope you can hear me. Let me know if you're having any audio issues here with me. My internet is on struggle mode. It's been like this for a minute. I don't know what's going on out here, but they've been telling me that they're working on it. So I'm with struggle net right now. So us little girls, we would stand around and we would talk to each other and we would tell each other, "It's messing up still." Hold on a second. It should be okay now. I don't see the low bar anymore. Okay, you say you can hear me now? Okay, cool. So us little girls, we were left to our own devices. Our parents, they weren't really paying us no attention because they were either busy or they were on drugs or they just had other interests. So we would tell each other, "Hey, don't go around that corner with Sean. If Sean calls you, don't go over there by yourself, because if he gets you around that corner, he gonna try to fill you up, because that's what he wants." Now, unless you want it to be filled up, you would go around that corner with the guy and see what he wanted, and he was gonna try to fill you up. But for the most part, us little girls, 14, 15, 16, we knew if a guy was calling us, not to go off by ourselves with him, because that's basically what they wanted. But like I said, Leah, of all the groups of girls that we used to hang in, it used to be about 10 or 15 of us hanging over there on Tasha's porch. And I remember it was this older guy. He was like in his 20s. I forget his name. I never got the guy's name, but I remember he used to come by and he used to flash his money all the time. And he used to be in the car with a whole bunch of other guys. And they would get out and they be checking us out and stuff. And we like, 15, 14, 15, 16, and they're in their 20s and they got a car, they flashy, got rims. And we're looking like, damn, they doing the damn thing. So at 14, 15, 16, you're blown away by this guy getting out the car, flashing his money. And I mean, they used to come over and they would throw down, 20s, 50s, you know what I'm saying? Just like flashing their money and just giving it to us. And like when you 14, 15, 16 and you ain't getting money like that from your parents, you just kind of like impressed. So we were all impressed, not only by the fact that they were rolling up on dubs, but they was flashing money and like throwing out 20s and 50s and like it wasn't nothing. That was candy to us. And so Leah, she was like the more lighter skinned one of us. I don't know if you guys remember that actress, Jussie Smollett's sister. She starred in a lot of different films. She's a very, very prominent actress. But that's how my friend Leah looked, except for Leah was lighter than her. But she looked exactly like Jussie Smollett's sister, back when she was young. And she had the mixed girl texture hair, pink lips, very, very, very light skin. And I remember that the guy that was driving the car, the driver of the car, got out and he was hollering at Leah. And see, we sitting up here, we nappy headed, we gelling our hair down and, putting it in French braids and stuff like that, because our parents wasn't, sending us to the hair salon. And so Leah, she had her nappy mixed girl texture hair. And, it was always wild. And, we were all poor and we wasn't dressing all good and stuff like that. And so back in the day, it was like the Coogee sweater dresses was the thing. The herringbone chains was the thing. The 8-ball jacket. I don't know if y'all remember the 8-ball jacket, but that was the thing. But that shit cost a lot of money. Our parents wasn't really buying us stuff like that unless they was, your parents was drug dealers or something like that. They wasn't buying you stuff like that. So I remember Leah going off with this guy. The guy said he wanted to holler at her. And so she got in the car and she left. And we were like, damn, Leah, you finna just get in the car with this dude? But he was passing out money. So Leah like saw that money, all that money. She was like, shit, I'm going. And this guy was like in his 20s and we were like 14, 15, 16. The very next time all of us saw Leah, we was all sitting on Tasha's porch. Tasha was braiding my hair, like putting like, little beads and stuff in my hair. And we would, back then we would do each other hair because we couldn't afford to go to the shop. Sheila, you know about that 8-ball. But I'm saying that's what was going on. So next time we saw Leah had that crinkly nappy Miss Girl Tetra hair. It was all pressed out and looking good and blowing in the wind and whatnot. I'm talking about shit. Her shit was laid. She had tresses. Like dude had sent her to the shop and got her hair laid. And the very first time I saw nails that were done, it was on my friend Leah. Her nails and her toes match. She had the French tip thing going on, right? And then, dun, 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 she had the 8-ball jacket. We was going crazy. We was like, damn, you got the 8-ball jacket. And I'm not talking about the cheap leather 8-ball jacket. She had the one that was like $800. Leah had a Dooney and Birch. Okay? Leah was, man, dude was buying her herringbones. Like back in the day, we used to like wearing them herringbones. And it had her initials and stuff on it. Leah was like, man, she was, I'm telling you. And we was like, well, how the fuck did you get all this shit? Because we standing around there looking all regular and shit with the stuff our parents buying us. We ain't got, makeup and hair done and all that type of stuff. And Leah was like maybe 14, 15. And she was looking good. So we sitting up here like, how the hell you get all this, Leah? How the hell can I be damned? You know what I'm saying? How can I be damned? And so that's how it started, y'all. I'm telling you the apex of how this shit started. When we saw dude ban all that stuff for Leah, that's how all that shit started. Guys our age did not have a chance after that. I'm just going to tell you. Now, I had a little crush on a little boy my age, but after I saw what dude did for Leah, it was like nothing but ballers after that. After that, you did not want nothing but a baller. And so Leah, her parents, they didn't give a damn about her. They wasn't watching her. They wasn't paying no attention that she was straightening her hair and her hair looked like it might have been done by a professional. They wasn't paying no attention till she got manicured nails and toes. They wasn't paying no attention, or maybe they didn't care that she was wearing an $800 8-ball jacket and goddamn $1,200 herringbones. They wasn't paying no attention to that shit. And the rest of us wanted to know, how could we be down? So we go into high school and the older guys will pull up in their cars. We want to be like Leah. Oh, no, Jabari. I'm not talking to you. You don't have a car. You don't have money to give me. Can you get me a herringbone? No. Can you get my hair and nails done? No, because you in high school right along with me. Yeah, I used to go to like the movies and stuff with Jabari, whatever, That was nice. But after Leah showed us, when Leah showed us all the light, Leah showed us all the light, y'all. And our 14, 15, 16-year-old mans, we could be like Leah and be looking fresh to death and flat every day in school. Sister Joy said, I couldn't bring a damn now later in the house without someone questioning me. But that's because you had parents that were there. And I'm going to get to that. I'm gonna talk about it, but most of us had single mothers. So let me tell you what ended up happening. I wanted to be down. So I dated one of the guys that was in the car with dude that Leah had introduced me to. And sure enough, I started getting fresh to death too. I could get herringbones. I can get expensive bags. I got an 8-ball jacket. And guess who couldn't take none of that shit home with her? I'll give you one guess. I couldn't take none of that shit home with me, y'all. Because my parents, my dad would have noticed if I had a $1,200 herringbone. So guess what? I had to keep that shit at that nigga house. I had to keep my $800 8-ball jacket in my school locker, at the locker at school. That's where I kept that shit. And see, back in the day, we didn't have to wear uniforms to school. So me, Leah, Tasha, and the rest of our crew, we would be in the girls' bathroom, going through our bags in our locker, getting the clothes that our boyfriends bought for us, changing into our Coogee sweater dresses so we can get fresh to death at school. So some of us whose parents were watching everything that we did, some of us left the house looking regular. But when we got to school, we hit our lockers and we got fresh to death. So that's the reason why when you watch some of these old programs and you see how some of these girls be having whole wardrobes in their locker, that's the reason. That's the reason. And so because these older guys came around spreading sugar and candy, spreading their money like sugar and candy, a lot of us younger girls were susceptible to following the sugar and the candy. Chef Orel, yeah, that was back in the day. You said you literally had to Google herringbone. See, that was the stuff that was going on back in the day. Back in the day, we had to have our herringbone. Your man did not love you unless he was giving you a herringbone. And it had to be 24 karat. Yeah, we used to love our chains and our rings and our initial stuff and tennis bracelets and 8-ball jackets. We love that shit back in the day. Our Coogee sweater dresses. Ultimate Gemini says, I don't think it's a young girl's fault for having fantasies and dreaming of happiness. versus the older man manipulated little girls with money and gifts. Bingo! Bingo! Ultimate Gemini, you win the prize for being the first to get it. Because, see, I was afraid that people would listen to this story and think that this is me justifying and glorifying something. It's not. I'm trying to tell you where it began. This is the apex of where it began. And it was damn sure manipulation. Now, my father, he took us on family vacations. He dressed me in appropriate clothing for a girl my age, stuff like that. But my boyfriend, who was in his 20s, was buying me herringbone chains and expensive gifts that my dad wasn't buying me. And then, like, downtown Chicago, that's where all the fancy and expensive restaurants were. You would go down there by Buckingham Fountain. And if you were able to, get pictures by the fountain, and you would go to those expensive restaurants over there, it was stuff that this grown man was showing me that I had never seen or experienced before. As a little girl, I wasn't supposed to, experience nothing like that, but I didn't know that. And then imagine if you were my friend Leah or my friend Tasha, whose parents didn't have a pot to piss in nor a window to bring it out of, and they're with these grown men, and these men are taking them to their expensive homes where they give you a room, and you can move out of your parent house right into his house and be living in a lap of luxury because you ain't never experienced or had that before. So these little boys in high school, how the hell were they going to compete with that? How the hell were they going to compete with that? They couldn't. There was nothing none of them little boys in high school could tell me but where a man was at that had his own car, his own crib, and was passing out money. And that's how this mindset, this parasitic mindset of you got to get the bag, that's where it started. It started with the women in my generation and what we experienced being groomed by these older men. We were groomed. Now, I hear some men on here saying that these 15, 16, and 17-year-old girls know what they're doing. They're absolutely wrong. We thought, and I put emphasis on the word thought. We thought we knew what we were doing, but we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what we were giving up in exchange for an 8-ball jacket. And Sheila E. can tell you right now today that 8-ball jacket is out of style. So we gave up our youth and our vitality to older men for things that are out of style. Chef Disaster had to look up what a herringbone was. Ain't nobody really wearing herringbones now. Ain't nobody really wearing 8-ball jackets now. But we thought that that was everything back then. Ain't nobody wearing Coogee sweater dresses anymore. So we gave up our youth, our vitality for things that went out of style, for material things. Or is back in style now? I don't know. But all I know is When I got older, I began to grow out of that mindset because I began to see how we were treated. I remember becoming a single mom from an older guy. And when you become a single mom and now you got this baby, and now you're giving him a dose of reality because now you're coming to him and it's not all about fun and it's not all about sex. It's all about Pampers for the baby. It's all about daycare for the baby. It's all about him putting the baby on health insurance, and he ain't got none because he a hood doctor. So now I'm not fun anymore. And guess who gets replaced? Now my body is all out of shape from having his baby. And guess who gets replaced? With somebody younger. So I'm 18, 19 with this baby. And now I see you in the car with my replacement, giving her money and things that I need for the baby. And that's when I woke up and said, fuck this shit. This is exactly what the game is. They get with you while you're young, while you're dumb, while you're naive. And then they knock you up with these kids. And then when you start becoming mature and you start stepping to them and making them responsible and asking things of them that a mature woman would ask of them, it's no fun anymore. And they're not trying to make a family with you. And so I began to realize that Coogee sweater dress, that herringbone chain, that 8-ball jacket, getting the hand nails done, that was not the most important thing in life. And that nigga lied when he said that he was always going to be there for me. And so when you wake up and you realize that you are worth more than that, you start turning away from those type of guys and you start looking at different types of guys. So that was my experience, but that's not every black girl's experience. Some of these girls got knocked up by these older guys, and they tried to replace him with the same type of black man that Cynthia G talks about. The problem with that is that these guys are all the same. They want the fun of being with you and of having your body, but they don't want the business side of you. And that's when they knock you up, get you pregnant, and they have to be responsible for a child, or they have to be responsible for taking care of you. They want the fun, but they don't want the business side. And so some of these women grow up into older women like I am now, 46. And I am seeing other women in their 40s and late 30s talking about getting a bag from the same type of niggas. Dating up, going older. We did that shit when we were 14, 15, 16, and it didn't get us anywhere. And so now at some point, we as women, we got to change our thinking and our mindset. Sure, you want a man that is a provider, but we have to also start looking at the characteristics of some of these guys. and holding ourselves accountable for choosing men that don't have the type of characteristics of predators. And we have to be honest with ourselves that some of us were messed with. We were groomed when we were in our teens. See, a lot of us, even as grown women, we won't acknowledge that. And because we won't acknowledge that we were groomed and messed with, we won't tell the next generation of women when they're being groomed and messed with. Because we still see it as a come up, even in our 40s and even in our late 30s. So I keep telling you guys, shit roll downhill. But this is exactly how the parasitic mindset starts. That parasitic mindset started back with women in my age group who were groomed, who were, bedazzled by the material things that these older men could give us. And we never, ever evolved from that mindset. Some of you women, some of you ladies that are in my age group right now, you never evolved from that parasitic mindset. You never found out that the best person to take care of you is you. You never found out that the number one person that's going to have your back is you. You never ever realize that you are the person that can make it happen for yourself. Instead, you're always looking for a baller. If you're in your 40s and your 50s, if you're in your late 30s, still talking about a baller, and nowadays they don't call them ballers, they call them sugar daddies. And the whole terminology of sugar daddy is parasitic in and of itself. Because that came from when predators were luring little kids in with candy. That's where it came from. And so the predators would roll up in the car and they would offer the little children candy and lure them off with them. And now we're using the term sugar daddy, which came from that parasitic and predatory mindset of the predator using candy on children. So now the candy takes on a different form. When the child is older, as for me and my group of friends, the candy was 8-ball jackets and herringbone chains and getting our hair and nails done. That was our candy. Now they're just outright calling it what it is: sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship. It's sick. And so now the candy is money. And you got a lot of these young Black women following in the footsteps of the wayward and dumb older female generation. that never took accountability, that perhaps maybe they were looking at it all wrong. And the older generation never acknowledged that they had gone down the wrong path and that they had been groomed. And so that's the reason why, even as older women, you'll find some older women running into these chat rooms talking about, I fell in love with my baby daddy when I was 14. I fell in love with my baby daddy when I was 16, 17. And these women are in their 40s saying this. They will not acknowledge that they were victims. They will not call a thing and explain to the younger women that it was wrong for these men to do that to them. They will not explain to these younger women what they're giving up in exchange for temporary trinkets. They will not explain to these young women their actual worth as women. I didn't find out until later. It was about right after I had my first child. I found out that it was wrong, and I found out that something was taken away from me. But I had to acknowledge that in order to do better. You got grown women that are still in denial about what happened to them. And they will not teach their daughters better because they're still in denial. They don't think anything is wrong. Exactly, Robert Washington. They do not think anything is wrong. And therein lies where we drop the ball as women. So you see, there's always a method to my madness. I always like to go back into the history of where something started, where a mindset started. And I'm bringing you forward to today, to where we're stuck at. Right, Ultimate Gemini, that's exactly how the cycle repeats itself. We keep rinsing and repeating the same bad choices over and over again because we refuse to, as women, to acknowledge the little girl that was groomed back in the day. We refuse to go back to our little girl selves and apologize to ourselves and say, you know what? It's not your fault that this happened to you. It's not your fault that this older person came in here and they groomed you. It's not your fault. And now that you know better, you can do better. Now, I'm going to go back to the parenting thing. Because a lot of young ladies in my generation, our parents were either busy with work or they were on drugs. I cannot tell you how important it is in order to break this generational curse of young girls being susceptible to fall into that type of thing. You have to be a parent that is involved in your kids' lives. And now they're not just doing this to little girls. They're doing it to little boys. If your daughter or your son, if you are raising them in poverty, if they don't have anything, these people are going to come with their flashy car, their money, their little trinkets, and they're going to blow their little minds away because they ain't seen nothing like that before, and they're going to be impressed by it. You have to be ever in their ear, telling them that there is a better way and that way is only a trap. These people are only trying to use you. They don't love you, and you are expendable. Like I found out. As soon as they get through with you, they're going to move on to the next thing. They don't love you. They're not going to take care of you. So, as parents, and especially I'm talking to the women because a lot of us are single mothers and we're raising daughters and sons. I know what I did when I was young. I hid things from my parents because I knew that if they found out, I had the type of parents that would have cared. So I hid it. My stuff was at that nigga house. I would meet that guy. I would tell my parents that I'm going to the mall, but that my parents would drop me off at the mall thinking that I'm going to meet my friends at the food court. But I'm really going to the mall to be picked up by that older guy. So as parents, you all have got to be more nosy. I'm telling you what I know. Because my parents, they talked to me and, they told me all the good stuff. And, and I was the doting daughter. I was like, yes, mommy. Yes, daddy. I listened to you. And then I went off and did what I wanted to do because I thought I knew better than them. But as parents, you got to go a step further. It may seem as if your little angel is soaking up all your advice and doing everything that you want them to do. It appears that way, but looks can be deceiving. You go into your little angel's room and you look through her clothes and her things. And if there's anything there that you didn't buy her, you question her about it. If there's anything there that looks overly expensive, you question him about it. Go through their things. Look in them diaries. I had 3 diaries when I was young. If my parents had just went in my room and opened my diary, they would have known all my secrets. But they weren't. They trusted me. They thought I was an angel. My dad would drop me off at the food court and he didn't think to hang around to see what would actually go on after he left. My parents didn't deign to think about going up to the school and checking my locker. They would have saw a lot of expensive stuff in there that I couldn't possibly afford. You got to do your due diligence as parents because your kids are sneaky. They'll lie to you. They'll make you think that they're angels. I was a little angel pie. But little did my father know I was baby D. And that name was given to me by an older man. Baby D. See, I was daddy's little angel pie, but I was baby D to somebody else. And they never knew because they weren't checking for me like that. So as parents, it's your job to be nosy, go through your kids' stuff. When you drop them off somewhere, make sure you know where they're going, who they're going with, And then you hang around to make sure that they're really doing what they're saying that they're going to do. You got to. I stalked my daughter on her first few little dates, the first few little times that she used to go out with her friends. I followed them because I know kids. I know teenagers. They will lie to you. They will be little angel pies in your face, like I was. And they'll be doing something totally different behind your back. Tasha was out there doing drugs. Leah was out there having sex with grown men. I was out there having sex with grown men. Our parents were either too busy, thought we were angels, or they were on drugs. They weren't paying us no attention. Those were the baby boomer parents. And so now the Gen X mothers, the single mothers of the Gen X generation, that's my generation. And we're so busy talking about we don't want to be controlled that we will let our daughters go to school in tight, short shorts, and we don't think nothing's wrong with that. Oh, they've been trying to control the Black woman for so long. Like I said earlier, you cannot be controlled and at the same time have self-respect. Going out half naked and allowing your daughters to walk around half naked has nothing to do with freedom. I think we as Black women got freedom all fucked up. You can be free and have self-respect about yourselves. Now, I talked about in the earlier videos of A Better Class of Women, I talked about how a lot of women seek a lot of validation from other people, outward validation. Some outward validation is good because you don't want to walk around delusional. So you do need some outward validation. I would say about 30%, 20 to 30%, but 70 to 80% of your validation has to come from self. So every now and then I'll post a picture of myself. I think I got my hair looking nice. I think I have a nice blouse on. So you want a little outward validation, someone to say, "Oh, Faith, you look nice." Okay, nothing wrong with that. You can take a full body picture if you think that you're in a cute outfit. But where it gets ridiculous is when you are doing whole videos and you got ass cheeks hanging out, and then you got your thighs all everywhere, and then not only do you take pictures like that, but then you open your legs or you bend over and put your whole butt in the camera and spread your butt cheeks. That's when it becomes ridiculous. Now it's not just a simple picture of you showing off your cute little shape and your cute little outfit. It's you being nasty and lewd and going above and beyond ridiculous for validation. So what I'm going to do at this time, before I close out, I'm going to share a video with you guys. 12 minutes of women, and it's not just Black women, women in general. I'm giving you an example of what these women are out here doing for TikTok, the gram, YouTube, what they're doing for validation. And I'm giving you examples of how ridiculous it's getting. So I'm going to share my screen. 1 second here. widen it up here. All right, so let me go to my community tab here. That's where I saw the video. I shared it. Here it is. All right, so you're going to see 12 minutes of this buffoonery.
Put your gum up first. Okay. Is that cool? Oh.
What's going on, you guys, and welcome back to A Different Perspective. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button for your boy. So we're about to watch a compilation of a ton of modern women showing us why it might be a good idea to just stay single for a while, fellas. Y'all ready? I'm ready. Let's go.
Fair use, fair use.
What in the world was she doing? Y'all, before we move on to the next clip, man, I'm happy to announce that this video is sponsored by none other than Teach Henley. Fellas, before I found Teach Henley, I was talking to my homegirls about what type of facial products that I should use to announce that they are the sponsor a daily facial with SP maintaining amazing. Outside the US, they offer low-cost shipping. Back to you. Mama sleeping. What you about to do? Yo, call mama while she's sleep.
These cheeks can wake her up. Let me just see.
Oh, good God. She said, I want to see if these cheeks can work her up. She got the whole house shaking.
Get the door.
Get the door.
Hold on, let me get my leg.
Okay, now why is she sitting up there with her legs all open, like in the camera? Like this is what I'm talking about. Like she's got on a cute outfit. She look cute. Her braids and her hair and everything look cute. Why is this even necessary? This is what I'm talking about as far as the validation and wanting, it's going a little bit too far. Why are you doing this, sis? What the hell?
This is on so I can see it.
Why are you sitting there with your legs wide open like you a dude or something? What in the world?
What is that? Oh, it's a bit.
Whoa. Yo, her energy, her vibe, her whole look is exactly like this one chick that I used to talk to. Wow.
Hey, Blair. Whoa, what are you doing?
Okay, let me pause this right here. Why? Just why, y'all? I mean, this is staged, of course. But this is what I'm talking about. Like the depths to which we are going through as women for attention. And we always got our ass in the air, our legs cocked open. See, this is not just her trying to show off her shape. This is her being outright nasty. And it gets worse. There's more.
She's stuck in the cabinet. I think her mind is stuck in the streets. Oh, she's at it again. Being nasty and abusive, and it's just she hate men or something. She cracked an egg on her head. Ew. And then she licked it, spit it back on them. Like, what in the world?
Jinkies, I lost my glasses again.
Is she supposed to be twerking while looking for her glasses?
Ed, Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, have you seen my glasses? Oh, I'm just...
Okay, so she's crawling around on the floor, twerking her ass for the camera. This is what I'm talking about. This is how desperate we out here looking. This is not cute. This is desperate. But some of you 40s, late 30s, damn near 50-year-old women will sit up here and say, it's freedom. It's freedom. We can do what we want to do. Men have tried to control us. What has freedom got to do with y'all out here looking desperate like this? This is freedom. This is freedom for some of y'all. You all are sitting up here justifying this type of stuff, talking about freedom. I just want to point out what some of you all are justifying here. Freedom. Let's go.
Contacts from now on. I'm tired of this shit.
You just look directly at them.
When he slides his hand between your legs and says,
"This is mine." Are we clear?
"Yes, Daddy."
When females trying to be sexy and fail, that was just cringe. Look, copyright. We ain't even about to play with it. We just gonna sit here and look at what she's doing. She's supposed to be hitting it from the. She's thick. I ain't even gonna hold you. Why her face look like that though? Like, I'm not saying the mask is on her face, but she don't look happy. What is she doing? And then she throwing middle fingers, so she must not be.
What he was doing.
Oh, what? You see that outfit, y'all? Do you see the outfit? Yo, she out here trying to be seen. She know what's happening right now. She know that butt is being slung around. She holding on though. Oh look, just showing all the.
No. Am I? No.
Plus size flexibility challenge.
See, why are we more and more jumping online, showing our ass? I see more and more TikToks like this. I see more TikToks with grown ass women in their underwear than I ever have in a long time. And I'm talking about it's nothing but this. Every time, and it's getting to the point, even when I go on Facebook, and Facebook is usually, for the families and for friends, and I see people in their underwear or these short shorts, just nasty, all up and down my timeline, nasty. And this is every woman now, but we call this freedom. This is what we call in freedom, y'all. This is us now allowing people to control us by acting like this.
I'm not gonna say it, but I want y'all to comment down below what y'all think I'm thinking. And timestamp it wherever we're at in this video, like the 6 minute and 20-second mark or something. If you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking, comment down below. Oh my God. Look, copyright purposes, you got it. Can she even breathe? Her titties are smothering her. while she's flopping on this, and then she sat there and spread her legs open like, the thirst is so real. Who these women be showing out for, man? I swear, the validation of other people is so important in folks' lives that it makes them do weird stuff like whatever the heck this is about to be.
A man just said it, y'all. A man.
Oh yeah.
This is all for validation.
Here we go. Look, this is some more validation for you. I promise you, they're not doing this stuff for themselves. If no one was watching, they would not be posting. I'm telling you right now. She in underwear. Look, she is too. What is they? Just all on the internet. No.
Comes home after a long day of work, and I'll be waiting for him on the bed in a pair of thigh highs. Sound like a deal?
It is. Like, okay, if you do that, then do that. Why you gotta show the world that you finna do that? We don't need to know all that. Oh my goodness. What's she doing? Showing off for the internet. She out here in a whole robe. Is the robe gonna come off? I mean, it better not, because it ain't nothing under it from what it looked like. Oh, here she go again. Her abusive self. Oh no! Look, I bet she let one rip. I ain't even gonna play the audio. Look, what she love to spit. And this is TikTok too, man. This is on the dang on kids platform. What is she? This is what? This girl over here taking off her underwear on TikTok and flashing it to kids. Oh my God. I swear, all people forgetting that that's a kid's platform.
So I don't even blame you, but I promise you, my ass is real, and I've never heard you yell. It's honestly genetics, I think.
See, look at my ass. Look at my ass, y'all. See, yeah. This is my greatest achievement and accomplishment in life. Look at this. Look at my ass. Look, everybody, look.
That's real, you guys.
Wow, babe, you have such a beautiful face. Thank you, baby. You should. Huh? My face. You should.
Now kid gotta go Google what that means. No audio. We're just gonna see. She better not spread her legs, I swear. I'm surprised she didn't spread them. What? Was she trying to give off the illusion that she wasn't wearing any pants? Just teasing folks on TikTok of all places. What is happening, man? Thing is, with a lot of these women, if they were in a serious committed relationship or married, they would not be doing this stuff. Majority of them would not be doing this stuff unless they're with a man that doesn't care enough about them to allow his girl to be doing some mess like this on the internet. But hell, if you ain't too serious about the female you dating, what does it matter if she's doing stuff like this on the internet, right? You ain't gonna be with her long term anyway, is you? Because she's doing this mess. But anyway, I don't know, y'all. Y'all be easy. I'm out. See.
All right, y'all. So that right there is the video that I wanted to share with you guys. So I wanted to come back and just, man, I mean, I wanted to show a different array of women doing it. And this guy, he has the best videos for that. Please check out his channel. I shared the video also on my community tab, but the title of his channel is called A Different Perspective. And I'm telling you, man, he has the best examples of female tomfoolery. But here's what I'm saying. Black women, white women, all different races of women. Everybody wants this internet validation. So no longer can we use the excuse that men are sexualizing us. You saw who was doing the sexualization in all of those videos. We are sexualizing ourselves now. We are promoting ourselves in this light now. So we can't sit up here and use the excuse that men are doing this. It's not the men anymore. It's y'all. It's y'all. Y'all doing this. Y'all is doing the sexualization. So it's no longer can you say they make these music videos and they throw us in there having us shaking our booty. No, not you're doing it on TikTok for free. You're doing it on Instagram for free. Y'all. And I just want women to take accountability and acknowledge that we are doing this now. We are the ones that are sitting up here not teaching our daughters to respect themselves. We are the ones sitting up here talking about we want freedom. We want sexual freedom. We don't want to be told what to do. We think that freedom is the freedom to act a goddamn fool online and out in public. And I don't care how many examples I show you. I could go outside right now and I could see examples of women not giving a damn about their own dignity and respect. But we'll be the first to sit up here and demand respect from these men. Now you're going to sit up here and disrespect yourself by leaving the house half naked. But then you turn around and want respect. Tell me, how does that work when you don't respect yourself? You sit up here and you say that these guys do not take you seriously. They don't take you seriously, you say. But then you sit up here and you talk about how you want a sugar daddy. You want a man to pay all your bills. You're not aspiring to do anything in life but that. And oh, by the way, I'm going to teach my daughter the same thing. You're doing this. And once again, for you dumb bobblehead bitches coming in my chat room with some stupid ass argument, if you didn't see the whole video, shut the fuck up. Go back, rewind, and watch the whole thing before you come in here. Because I went through a whole fucking evolution. I don't have time nor energy to catch you up. This is an hour and 44-minute long video. If you put yourself out there, it's nobody's fault but yours. If you send your new pictures to somebody and it gets out there, you the one that sent that shit. If you walk out the house half naked, you the one that chose them clothes that you walked out the house with. So if people are not taking you seriously, it's maybe it's because of some of the things that you're doing. If you walking around saying dumb shit, that's probably the reason why you're not being taken seriously. You're looking dumb and you acting dumb. Ultimate Gemini says, these women have always existed. We just see them more now because we have the internet. Before the internet, they were just porn stars on cassette tapes. Exactly. But to be honest with you, back when we just had cassette tapes, women actually had some goddamn respect for themselves. It was not the norm. We have normalized, we have normalized dysfunction. What we have done as women is we have stated so much that we don't want nobody controlling us. We want freedom, but we mistake freedom and not being controlled for acting a damn fool online and in public. I'm still free, but I don't pass to everybody. You understand what I'm saying? I'm still free, but I don't have to broadcast or say dumb shit and act a fool in order to display how free I am. If that is what freedom is, you can have it. I do not want to look like a damn fool for the name of freedom. And if you are a woman that wants to stay in the scarcity mindset of being a hoe, if you want to keep the parasitic frame of thought, and if you want to continue to pass that down, that's your business. That's for you and your ilk. As for me and mine, I'm not passing that down. I'm not telling my daughters that this is the way to go towards freedom. And I'm damn sure going to hold them accountable if they decide to go in their closet and get clothes that they paid for that make them look like whores and turn on the internet on their phone that they also pay for. And they make a decision to spread their legs and open their ass cheeks, all for the name of freedom. It's nobody but you, sis. It's you. It's you holding the camera. It's you putting on the clothes. It's you. You hit the send button for that shit. It's you. And if you refuse to take accountability for that, ain't nothing I can tell you. Being a better class of woman is a mindset. And there is better. If you sit me next to a female and I'm sitting there looking normal with my legs crossed, I'm acting like a lady, I'm conducting myself as a lady, and then here comes another chick and she's in booty shorts that look like underwear with her ass cheeks hanging out, and she decides to sit next to me and she wants to open her legs and then drop down on all fours and start twerking, who is the better woman? Because there is a better. The woman that's sitting there acting like she got some sense and she's still beautiful, she's still curvaceous, but she's not acting like a goddamn idiot in public. Yeah, I'm better than that woman. There is a better. It's not freedom, ladies. You're looking like damn fools. And the first thing that isn't free, and this is how I know you're not free, is your mind is not free. Because in your mind, you still need that what they call it, the misogynistic. You need the misogynistic validation. You still need that misogynistic validation that got you out here acting like a slave for these men, a slave for their validation, a slave. Your mindset is not free. See, I'm free. I know I don't have to do any of that. And I teach my daughters that they don't have to do any of that. Now, if I want to do that in the privacy of my bedroom for my man, I just do that. But I do that for him, not for all of you. I'm not looking for your validation. I just care whether or not my man likes it. But I don't need the validation of the whole entire world. And there is a better. You can either be a rotten tomato or you can be a ripe tomato. The ripe tomato is better than the rotten tomato. You can either be a 1986 Chevy or you could be a 2022 BMW. The 2022 BMW is better than the 1986 Chevy. There's always a better. And if you want to sit up here and try to make it seem as if everybody's the same, or we're all the same. No, all tomatoes are tomatoes, but not all tomatoes are the same. Some tomatoes are ripe and good to eat. Some tomatoes are sour and rotten and not good to eat. So even though they're all tomatoes, they're not the same. Okay, I've been going into my spiel here for about 2 hours. So I'm going to, once again, give you guys the power. I can drop the link or I cannot drop the link. So I will leave that up to you. Put a 1 in the chat if you would like for me to drop the link. Put a 2 not to drop the link. I'm going to leave that up to you. And let me go ahead and acknowledge some of my early birds that came in. Go all the way to the top here in my chat. I see that Joe was the first person to come in. So welcome, Joe. You are the first person into the Faith Factor. Next, Chef Orel Young. Shout out to him. Demetrius Hagashikata, Robert Washington. Sheila E., the Quiet Storm. She came in earlier. I don't know if she's still here. Ultimate Gemini. Quite a few people. Sister George stepped in. Kevin C. Era Black Television. Reaction Satisfaction. And he says, join the Faith Factor channel membership by clicking the blue join button to the left and subscribe button. And he says, please subscribe and do it. Click the bell so you don't miss out. Absolutely. Chef Disaster in the house. Who else we got here? China White. What's up, China? Love me some China White. I saw you going in the other day on Baller X. That was some good shit. DOD in the house. Y'all check out DOD's channel, as well as check out Reaction Satisfaction's channel as well. Reaction Satisfaction says, everybody thumb up the video and share to your YouTube community tabs. That's right. Reaction Satisfaction does a lot of great reaction videos on his channel as well. Big O in the house, Snuggle 668. Melanated Vessel. See what she says. She always has some really nice comments. She says, I take complete account as to how you represent myself, especially on social media. I literally think about my children and grandchildren before I post any picture. Exactly. And that's how anybody with self-respect is. Anybody with self-respect. Uh-oh, Kareem the trucker, last but not least. Kareem the trucker. I love me some Kareem, by the way. All right, so nobody voted. So that means that I can go ahead and close out. But before I do, I just want to let everybody know that I appreciate you for coming in, supporting the channel. Please share the channel as Reaction Satisfaction said, to your community tabs. Like the video because that keeps me on top. And until next time, I just got to say, peace. I'm out of here. See ya.